Hello, all sentient beings, and welcome to Transmissions Alt Mode, where we talk about all news, comics, and media related to thee. On this episode, we review IDW Publishing's King Grimlock number 5 in comics. New limited edition Transformers fine art prints are coming soon, and there's a bunch more guest announcements for TFcon Los Angeles. Today is Friday, February 18th, 2022, and this is episode 273 of Transmissions Alt Mode. Welcome to Transmissions Alt Mode, the podcast that hopes Hasbro greenlights a Grimlock the Barbarian TV show. I'm your host Charles, aka Big C, and I'm joined by the excellent Transmissions team. Jeremy, aka Yakko.
Hey, how's it going?
And Daryl, the Cybertronian Beast.
Could Grimlock be voiced by Schwarzenegger? Could Schwarzenegger do a Grimlock voice, like the crappy Austrian accent, also doing Grimlock speak? Oh my god, that's amazing!
I think you're giving me a headache trying to picture that.
Let's talk Transformers,
please.
I'd still take Greg Berger.
Yeah. Yes.
In the chat, Quattro says, "You mean a tumor?" I don't mean a tumor. It's not a tumor.
As always, we start off the show by thanking our Donatreons, those lovely people who support us on Patreon and PayPal. Thank you all for continuing to help us out and support the show. We really appreciate it. And one of the perks of being a Donatreon is you get access to our bonus uncut episodes of our Transformers live play RPG podcast, Empire of Rust, done by our awesome producer and editor, Mike. And coming next week, we've got the bonus episode of Empire of Rust, episode 70, The Wild Strikes Back Again. And this is exclusive to our Donatrons because you're getting it early, and this will be Monday, February 21st. So the regular version of this episode will be out on Monday the 28th, February 28th. So you get it a whole week early. Just don't spoil it for everyone else who listens to Empire of Rust, because you're special and getting, access to this episode early and getting lots of extra stuff, bonus content that is not in the regular episode. So enjoy. Donatreons have their privileges. All right, well, this week we're going to jump right into our comic review.
All right, we are looking at King Grimlock number 5 this week. King Grimlock number 5 was written by Steve Orlando. Art is by Augustin Padilla. Colors by Jeremy Caldwell. Letters by J. Kim Wood. Editor is David Marriott. Assistant editor is Riley Farmer. Supervising editor is Tom Waltz. There are 3 covers this week. They all feature Grimlock, in case you were wondering. And the first one, it has Soltron fighting Grimlock from within. This is by Cian Tormey with colors by Reggie Graham. Cover B has Grimlock breathing fire, and this is by Augustin Padilla and Jeremy Caldwell on colors. And the retailer incentive cover is Grimlock summoning a portal back to Cybertron. This is by Stephen Byrne. So, Daryl, let's start with you. Which of the 3 do you pick this week?
Yeah, so if you remember, I think it was my trips to the store last week, I showed off cover B. This is the Augustin Padilla cover, and I just like that cover quite a lot. His art style just works for this series, and I think his covers were the ones that I ended up chasing for this entire series. So, cover B for me. It was visceral, and it just works.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Charles.
So I like cover B, but the problem I see with cover B is that like 60% of the image is obscured by the fire breath that's covering the great line art. So that kind of makes me not want to pick it just because I can't see all the actual art.
That's still art. The fire breath is art, Charles.
All right. Well, I would like the line art to be represented as well.
What do you have against colorists? Why do you hate colorists?
I don't know. I'm colorblind. But I'm going to pick the retailer incentive cover by Stephen Byrne. I think that is a cool image. I like that. The Grimlock image, and then the kind of magical seal thing behind him where he's teleporting back to Cybertron. So that's my pick.
All right. I think they were all good in their own ways this week. You got like a more cartoony looking one by the interior artist, and then the retailer incentive. It's just clean, and I don't know. It looks good as well. But I'm with Daryl. I think the cover B was just fantastic, and I for one like the fire breath, and I think that's a very like engaging image, and I regret not hunting it down. I'll have to go back to my store and see if there are any left. But anyway, on to the story. This issue is titled Grimlock the Triumphant, and starts after the previous issue where the Golden One was defeated. But now Soltron is inhabiting Grimlock's former student, Arco. And Arco's father, Arnak, and Neria are trying to maintain the eclipse that's dampening Soltron's powers with their own magic. And Soltron is boasting to Grimlock that he didn't have to convince Arco at all. She willingly accepted him. But Grimlock fires back that he's just a parasite, and Grimlock will save Arco and destroy him. However, Soltron says that anything Grimlock does to hurt him is also hurting his friend, and then he lands a punch that sends Grimlock flying. Grimlock responds with blaster fire, but they were just warning shots, and Soltron taunts him again, saying Minonia has made the Dinobot weak, but Grimlock has a new idea. He offers himself up with the added possibility of seeing the entire universe, not just one planet. This is too much for Soltron to resist, and he accepts. However, once he's inside Grimlock, he's confused. He doesn't have control over the Dinobot, and Grimlock took the god into his spark, where he is king, and then inside the spark, we see that Soltron is realizing that this was a trap. Grimlock makes short work of Soltron and promises that he won't be using the Autobot insignia for anything again as he rips Soltron from his bones. As this was happening in the real world, Grimlock was laying on the ground unconscious. Free of Soltron's control, Arco taps on his visor for a sign of life, and then it slowly lights up as Grimlock returns. He confirms that Soltron is dead and it is a good day. The eclipse is finally over, and Arco congratulates Grimlock on defeating the god that she so easily fell to. Grimlock lets her know that he didn't do it by himself. He had help, especially from her father. She then sees Arnak on the ground nearby and rushes to him. He's not dead, but he's badly hurt from holding the eclipse as long as he could. He's now without his magic, as Soltron is no more, and he can't create a portal to send Grimlock home. He also realizes that he can't be a leader in the state that he's in, and offers the throne to Grimlock. Grimlock considers it briefly, but then decides that the proper leader is already among the Minonians. He says that Arco should do it. She'll have to earn back the trust of the people and accept her mistakes, but she's a warrior and she can do it. Later, the Minonian people have found a way to use some of Grimlock's energon to create a portal back to Cybertron. It's a one-way trip and the door will be closed forever. So Grimlock says his farewells as he goes through the portal, and he's grabbed by Optimus Prime. Optimus is surprised. Grimlock has only been gone a few nanocycles, but Grimlock looks like he's been through a war. As Grimlock begins to tell him what happened, upon hearing the name Minonia, Optimus understands completely. Grimlock does surprise Prime with what he has learned through his adventure, that strength and mercy can work together. That is the end of the series, and I thought it was an okay finish for the most part. It was very action heavy, which is fine. I enjoyed that, but it was also very wordy, and just the constant banter between Soltron and Grimlock was it was a little tiring, especially trying to like read Grimlock's speech patterns. But on the whole, I liked it. I do think that the art, while I enjoy the art in this, much like Charles's complaints about the cover, a lot of the kind of spark panels is lacking on actual detail. And that would be my one big complaint about this is, it's an artistic choice, but it seemed like it was lacking and it could have been done a little bit differently. But on the whole, I enjoyed this, and I like what they did and how they kind of subverted things from the original episode that this story kind of spawns from. So, Charles, what are your thoughts on the book?
Yeah, I think this was a good conclusion to the story. I think it actually, like, I earlier, like when we were doing early reviews of this series, I was kind of complaining at how Grimlock's kind of motivation didn't seem very clear. But at the end of in this issue, I think I liked how, like, it shows he did have a little progression throughout the series. Like, at the beginning, he's kind of the might makes right Grimlock, but then at the end, he realizes, it's also, working together and helping others is can be part of still being strong and everything. So I think that kind of redeemed the storyline for Grimlock. I liked the art. I thought was really good. Actually, I liked the Soltron artwork when he's inside Grimlock's Spark. Reminded me of Jack Kirby. Like, you've got the little Kirby crackle there for the images. So I kind of like that. And I agree with you about the dialogue. I mean, I think if you're going to do a Grimlock focused story and you're going to give Grimlock a lot of dialogue, just let him speak normally. I mean, this is a lot of Grimlock dialogue for where it's you have to do the caveman grammar.
Yeah, I feel like if you kind of do it as internal dialogue, you can have him be more normal speaking. Just make it like a vocal tick.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that definitely gets a little tedious throughout the book, but I thought it was a good story. I thought it was an interesting take on a classic G1 episode expanded into this really interesting barbarian story, Conan the Barbarian story. I thought it was well done. I'd like to see more experimental things like this. So maybe to the next comic shop that's doing the Transformers license, do more experimental stuff like this.
Mm-hmm. All right, Daryl, what do you think of the book?
Well, I'll start with the art because I did enjoy the art. As I alluded to in the first bit there, the spot where you were talking about inside Grimlock Spark about how you really didn't like it and its lack of detail. I had an opposite impression. I actually really like that, and I'm usually much more towards the side of it needs to be really heavily detailed, and whereas all this stuff. Whereas this particular section of the book where they're inside the Spark, I get the interpretation, the artist's representation here, where there's no physical body, for these characters now. They're fighting with their sparks, right? They're kind of their souls. So there's really no lines to kind of solidify these drawings, and just kind of the outline is just color, and that's. I actually really did appreciate the fact that everything was just drawn in just color differences. It was really a light palette, and it really did. I liked the way it looked. It was, it's like they were fighting with light. It really worked for me in that way. And I'm generally a lot more critical on art than I am on the writing. So, the part that still didn't work for me, and that has not worked for me the whole time, is the Autobot symbols being a stamp. I'm going to mention it every single frickin' time because it's horrible. It really does. And especially if you're doing something where, your color palettes and everything is really light and, airy. And then you've got this hard stamp that just really does wreck everything. It just, it kind of really ruined a few of these panels on here for me.
I did notice something about the stamp just now where they did try to make it look a little bit more rough by fading the edges and stuff, and it totally does not work.
No. There's a couple panels. On when they're fighting in the Spark, I'm looking at one of them. It's page 17 for us on the PDF. But at the top of the page, Soltron's kind of getting like he's blasting a bunch of light and stuff. The stamp is just there. Like it looks terrible, right? So you gotta either learn to draw that and keep and integrate it into the art, or just leave it off because it just looks
Stamp
terrible.
is on top of his chin, like the parts of his helmet. Yeah,
it's terrible. So just leave it off or draw it in. So yeah, these stamps are no good. The part that I mentioned, I think I mentioned it before with last issue that we did, and I can't remember when that was. That was a while ago. But Soltron, the fact that the main villain of this 5-issue series is Soltron, who is a nobody, we've never heard of before, right? That drives me nuts. That the main villain of this series should have been somebody that we've at least heard of before, has some kind of, streak as being a main villain. Okay, they're killing them off. Okay, fine. Make them a C, D, E level character that, nobody's going to miss if Grimlock has to kill them to kind of solve the problem here. But at least make them somebody that, they can actually, you can say, oh shit, that's the main villain. Okay, I get it. Right? This Soltron character, I could care less that he's dead now. Like, Grimlock's the only named character that we really know.
It could have been Sunstorm so easily. Like, Soltron, you're
Sure.
actually that Seeker Sunstorm. And
yeah, make him somebody that people can, reading the comic are going to recognize the name of, right? And this character is just it's a poor choice. Yeah. So, I wasn't particularly thrilled with that. The fight sequences, I loved them. Inside the Spark, outside the Spark, all that stuff is great. The art was fantastic. The dialogue, I was speed reading through this because of the Grimlock speak. It generally takes me out of the story if I have to stop and kind of correct, make sure I'm reading it right. I get the gist of how Grimlock speaks, so I'm just kind of reading every second word kind of deal. So yeah, it's but yeah, it's I like the series. It was good. The fact that this is kind of a one and done, and now Grimlock, there's really no way back kind of a deal, and we always, in the real world, IDW is losing the license, so this is the end of it all, and that's it. I think this was a decent way to wrap it up, it's all, everything just kind of gets solved with Prime pulling them out at the end and saying it's you've only been gone a moment, and that kind of thing. So I thought, all in all, it was a decent story. This kind of stuff, it's not technically a crossover because the other side really doesn't have its own property, but it's this, I still kind of feel as though it still kind of fits in those like ROM versus Transformers and Terminator and Transformers and all that stuff. It still fits in those because it's it's kind of like Conan, but it's just not technically Conan. So I thought it was a good series all in all. Worth the price of admission, and the art's fantastic. So yeah, all in all, I liked it.
I mean, I would love to see both Steve Orlando and Augustin Padilla work on other Transformers stuff in the future.
Yeah. I mean, Augustin Padilla is very talented. He's just got to learn to draw the symbols, man. Like, that's the only thing.
Yeah.
Do something like Alex does with doing a shorthand or something. They don't have to be perfect. Just do something where it kind of resembles it. But all in all, this was a great series.
Cool. Well, that is our comic review this week.
And we will move on to Transformers media news.
All right, in media news this week, we got some Prime and Megatron fine art prints. They're being offered up for sale by Sideshow Images. So I believe this is the same company, Sideshow Collectibles. Yeah, I think it is. So they are doing, they're the guys who do like the really fine, like the really nice statues and stuff. But they're doing these art prints now. There's only 450 pieces each. And I don't think, do we have a date? I don't think we.
It's just soon.
Just says soon. We don't have a price.
You can RSVP on their website.
Yeah. So the artist is Orlando Orocena. I've never heard of them, but these are really cool looking. These are really cool looking art prints, and from everything that I've read on this, they are physical. They are actual physical art pieces. They are not digital, so you will receive
They
a
are
actual
fungible.
Yes, they are actual physical pieces of artwork that you will receive, in the mail when you buy them. You don't have to buy them with Bitcoin or Ethereum or anything like that, and you won't get a picture of a monkey or anything like that. But these look great. Charles, you gonna put down for Optimus or Megatron?
Nah. I mean, these look nice, but I'm not a fan of the like half profile or half. I'd prefer like a full on profile image. But these are cool. I mean, they look nice, well rendered, and physical original art prints.
You put them side by side, and then you've got a really cool looking image.
That's okay, what you got to buy two.
Well, yeah. That's how they get you.
Jeremy, you got a nice big house there that you got to furnish and put some art up on the wall. Are you going to get one of these?
I would love to. I'm thinking I probably won't be able to afford it right now. I was just looking. BBTS has prints from this guy from Sideshow. They have a X-Men, Magneto, and Fantastic Four Hand of Doom. Both of them are $104.99. They are 24 by 18 posters. So
they're big.
Yeah, these are different size because these are more tall and skinny. But I would think that this is going to cost a good amount just from the quality and everything. So I would love to get it. I don't think it's probably in the cards right now.
All right.
I've got more art than I have wall space anyway. And,
Right on. And the last thing we've got is some more pictures have come in from Peru, from the shoot that they did in Cuzco. So these are some stunts that were being done with the Optimus Prime tractor trailer, and some people got some shots of the truck when it was stopped, and a couple pictures of the inside and a little bit of the interior of the Wheeljack vehicle. So you get to see the inside of Optimus Prime, and he hasn't been taking care of himself. He looks like an old jalopy on the inside there. His seat's all ripped up. The console's half torn out. It's beat up. It's a stunt vehicle, so obviously it's probably not the one they'd use to shoot any interior scenes if there are any. But damn, this one's beat up a bit. Yeah. But the Wheeljack, it definitely looks a little bit better taken care of. There's not a lot to talk about here. It's just some pictures from when they were shooting. I wonder if these are from some pickups that they did, reshoots and such. But whatever. There's still an awful lot of time until this movie comes out. June 9th, 2023 is when the movie is set to premiere. So got some time. We'll likely forget that all this happened by the time the movie comes out. Anywho, that's it for media news.
And we will finish up the show with convention news.
All right. In convention news, got another slew of TFcon LA announcements, and some of these are really making me wish even more that I could go, because we got a couple RID 2001 guests. First one is Sandy Fox, who is the voice of Ty on the show. She was the kind of hologram AI character that interacted with the kid and all the Autobots. And then Dan Warren, who is the voice of Crosswise in the show. And also he was Roy Fokker in Robotech. So, probably going to bring out some Robotech fans. And then we also have Gray, I can never pronounce her last name, Delisle or
Delisle.
Okay, Gray Delisle, who is the voice of RC in the Bumblebee movie, as well as RC, Chromia, and Alita 1 in Revenge of the Fallen, and Glowstrike in Robots in Disguise 2015. So it's awesome that
and Starfire and Teen Titans Go.
Starfire and Teen Titans Go. So yeah, that non-Transformer day of the convention is going to be pulling in a whole lot of guests, I'm sure. Lindsay Rousseau, who is the voice of Alita 1 and Netflix War for Cybertron series, is going to be there. And Brandon Easton, who is a writer on War for Cybertron. We've had him on our show before. He's great. And he did Narc on Transformers Galaxies as well. So great seeing him there. And then some sad news. Jack Lawrence has posted on Twitter that he is having to cancel his TFcon LA trip. His flight was canceled, and he's just concerned about how COVID is being treated both, in LA and everything. So he posted some, a thread on Twitter about it, but, kind of sucks that he had to cancel his trip, but hopefully he will make it over to the States for a future TFCon. And that is it for convention news.
And that will do it for this episode of Transmissions Alt Mode. Again, we want to give a shout out to our Masterpiece Donatrons. At the end of every episode, we make sure that you guys know how much we appreciate you, because you guys continue to support us at our highest level. So thank you to John 4X Levengood, Dinobot Maximize, Demon Tech 82, and Curtis Akan. And that's it for Transmissions Alt Mode. We'll see you next week. Thanks everyone for listening. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Later.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Transmissions. If you'd like to join the conversation, travel to our Discord channel at transmissionspodcast.com/Discord. Want some cool transmission swag? Feast your eyes on our transmissions gear at transmissionspodcast.com/shop. If you'd like to support our podcast, go to transmissionspodcast.com/support or tell your friends about our show. We'll see you next time.